brave enough for this journey. So let's get started.
A mysterious and paranormal story that inspired movies. Enfield Poltergeist Incident. The Enfield Poltergeist Incident, which occurred in England in 1977, continues to be one of the most interesting paranormal cases in history. History is full of many paranormal events. Frightening ghosts, unexplained events, or dangerous hauntings have existed in every period of history. Of course, many of these paranormal events were based on malicious deception, or a series of misunderstandings. However, some paranormal events continue to remain mysterious no matter how much time passes. The strange phenomenon called the Enfield Poltergeist Incident is one of the cases where the mystery behind it is still unsolved. What makes this case more mysterious and interesting than other paranormal events is that dozens of different people witnessed what happened. Despite this, neither the witnesses nor those who examined the incident later could develop a satisfactory theory about the strange events that took place in an ordinary house. For this reason, the Enfield Poltergeist Incident remains one of the best-known and most mysterious paranormal events in history. It even seriously affected modern culture. A movie called The Conjuring 2, released in 2016, was entirely inspired by the mysterious events that took place in England. Here's what you need to know about the Enfield Poltergeist Incident, one of the most famous and mysterious paranormal cases in history. The house at 284 Green Street, in the north of London, the capital of England, looked extremely ordinary from the outside. In this ordinary house lived a woman named Peggy Hodgson, and her children named Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy. However, the ordinary life of the family would change completely in the late 1970s. Moreover, this family would become people known first to all of England and then to the whole world. Allegedly, in August 1977, the children's beds began to move on their own. The children immediately informed their mother. But when Peggy Hodgson entered the room, the beds were in their usual place. Naturally, Hodgson thought his children were playing a joke on him. However, the events that Hodgson thought were part of a simple joke would continue the next night. This house was no longer an ordinary place at all, with scary sounds, strange clicks, and shifting objects. According to the children, the chair in the room was moving on its own. This was the source of the interesting sounds in the room. To calm her children, Peggy Hodgson replaced the chair in the middle of the room and turned off the light. At this moment, another interesting sound was heard in the room. Hodgson turned on the light and the sound stopped. But when the light turned off again, the scary sound appeared again. Margaret, Janet, Johnny, or Billy, none of them could pull off such a scary prank. The first moment that Peggy Hodgson realized that she was not the victim of an ordinary joke was when she heard the scary sounds in the room. However, a much more mysterious and terrifying event took place a little later. That night, as the sounds of punches coming from inside the walls filled the room, the dresser began to move on its own. It was the first time that Peggy Hodgson encountered this terrible sight that her children had been witnessing for days. Like every cold-blooded person, he tried to put the items that were wandering around the room in their places. But he was not successful. Thereupon, family members rushed outside to seek help. Neighbors, police officers, religious officials, mediums, journalists. Dozens of different people closely witnessed what happened in the house at 248 Green Street. All the rooms of the house were rummaged through many times. The garden was explored. The areas near the house were examined. However, nothing strange was found anywhere. Outside, it was as ordinary as ever. On the other hand, the inside of the house was more extraordinary than ever. Strangers in the house also witnessed objects moving, objects floating in the air, and strange sounds appearing suddenly. In fact, a Lego piece took off on its own and hit one of the journalists inspecting the house in the face. Despite all this, no one could explain the mystery behind these interesting events. These paranormal events received wide coverage in the press, causing the event to be named Enfield Poltergeist and become an important agenda item all over the world. The Hodgson family decided to contact an official from the Association for Psychical Research. Thereupon, a man named Maurice Grosse settled in the house at 248 Green Street in order to examine the Enfield Poltergeist incident more closely. The first days when Grosse started staying at home were quite calm. However, after a few days, Grosse also witnessed strange events in the house, and even more. Moving furniture, sounds coming from inside the wall, children flying around. Yes, whatever the source of the events at home, the children were now its target, especially 11-year-old Janet. Janet was most affected by paranormal events. In fact, from time to time, the curtains of the house mysteriously wrapped themselves around the child's neck. It was as if whatever was behind the mysterious events wanted to kill Janet. In the future, Janet's voice changes completely. He no longer speaks like an 11-year-old girl, but starts talking with an old man's voice. Thereupon, Janet is sent to a hospital in London. He is subjected to a series of psychological and physiological tests. However, the little girl has neither a psychological nor a physiological disorder. Moreover, during Janet's time in the hospital, events at home decreased significantly. When little girl Janet returned home, strange events began again. Additionally, Janet continues speaking in a male voice, but this time, more information is revealed about the owner of the voice, because what makes Janet talk is a man named Bill. According to what Bill tells through Janet, he is the former owner of the house where the Hodgson family now lives. He says that he lost his life on the sofa downstairs of the house years ago. Some researchers who decide to investigate Bill's story realize that the story is true. There is indeed a man named Bill who lived in this house many years ago, and he lost his life in this house. Bill's conversations, moving furniture, interesting sounds continue for a while. In August 1977, 1.5 years after the beds first moved spontaneously, the events came to an abrupt end. Just as it is not possible to find out why and how these strange events start, it is also impossible to find out why and how they end. 1.5 years later, both the furniture and the children are in place in the Hodgson family's home. No strange sounds can be heard from the walls. The curtains have stopped killing children. Although no one knows why, the poltergeist, evil spirit, has left the house. After Poltergeist left the house, discussions that would last for many years began. Some claim that the Enfield Poltergeist is one of the most mysterious paranormal cases in the world. Some people have more rational explanations. Bill's story adds to the realness of the Enfield Poltergeist incident. Speaking through Janet, poltergeist is a very real thing for many people. On the other hand, the fact that dozens of different people witnessed what happened at home also increases the reality of the event. In short, many people both in England and around the world believed that something was really haunting the house at 248 Green Street. However, there were also those who thought otherwise. According to many people, Janet was responsible for the events. This little girl, who wanted to attract her mother's attention, prepared an extensive prank with the support of her siblings. Yet it was never quite clear which side was right. For years, the Enfield Poltergeist incident has been a comprehensive joke for some, and a scary ghost case for others. Thank you for being with me on this journey. For more videos like this, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications.